Today, we're diving into one of history's most fascinating and frankly high-stakes annual rituals, the Day of Atonement, straight from the book of Leviticus. Now, this ceremony was designed to do something that sounds, well, pretty much impossible.
I mean, think about it. How do you hit a giant reset button for an entire nation? How do you collectively purge a full year's worth of mistakes, impurities, and all the stuff that goes wrong? Well, the ancient Israelites had a very specific and incredibly dramatic answer.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll look at the day itself, then the priest's all-important prep work. After that, we get to the mystery of the two goats, the climax of the ritual behind the sacred veil, the scapegoat's big journey, and finally, why this whole thing became a command meant to last forever.
Right, so this wasn't some weekly thing. This was a once-a-year event, a single, super solemn day that was set aside for a complete and total spiritual cleansing of the entire nation. The key idea here is atonement. And you know, it's so much more than just saying you're sorry. In this context, it's an active process. It's about actually making things right, about closing that gap that our mistakes create between us and God. That was the whole point of the day.
And the stakes, they could not have been higher. The text is incredibly clear about this. God warns the high priest, Aaron, basically, don't just wander into the most holy place whenever you feel like it. He can only go in on this one day following these exact rules so that, and I quote, he die not. So yeah, one day, one man, one chance to get it absolutely perfect. No pressure. Okay, so before the priest could even think about representing the people, he had to get himself ready. And this whole process wasn't about showing off his power or status, it was all about absolute humility. So the very first thing he does, he changes his clothes. He takes off all his usual fancy golden garments, the symbols of his high office, and he puts on these simple white linen clothes. Why? Because these were considered holy garments. They symbolized purity and a kind of stripping away of personal pride before he dared to enter that sacred space. And this next part, I think, is brilliant. It illustrates a crucial principle. You can't clean up someone else's mess if your own house isn't in order. So the very first act of atonement isn't for the nation, it's for himself and for his own family. He has to be made right with God before he can even begin to act on behalf of everyone else.
All right, now we get to probably the most famous part of the whole ceremony. It's this incredible piece of ritual theater that involves two goats, each one with a completely different destiny.
So the high priest takes two goats from the community and he presents them at the entrance of the tabernacle. And then, in this moment of what seems like pure chance, or maybe divine will, he casts lots. One lot is marked for the Lord, and the other is marked for the scapegoat. And just like that, their fates are sealed.
And here's the crucial part. It's a dual-action plan. The goat that's chosen for the Lord is sacrificed, and its blood is used to purify the holy sanctuary itself. But the second goat, the scapegoat, has a totally different job. Its purpose is to physically carry the sins of the people far, far away. See? It's a two-part solution. You've got purification and removal. Now we come to the moment of greatest awe and the greatest danger. The high priest, all cleansed and prepared, steps behind that curtain into the Holy of Holies. This was considered the most sacred place on earth where God's presence was believed to dwell.
But he doesn't just stroll in. First, he brings a censer packed with burning coals and fills the entire room with a thick cloud of incense. And the text is super specific about why. It's so that the cloud covers the mercy seat on the Ark of the Covenant, and I quote again, that he die not. This cloud was like a protective screen between a mortal human and the overwhelming divine presence. And right there, inside that cloud of incense, he performs the central act of purification. He takes the blood from the bull he sacrificed for himself, and then the blood from the goat sacrificed for the people, and he sprinkles it on the mercy seat. That number 7, by the way, often signifies completeness or perfection in this context.
You can see how methodical this all is. First, he deals with his own stuff, using the bull's blood. Then, he atones for the nation with the goat's blood. And the cleansing just radiates outward, from the mercy seat to the holy place and then to the altar outside. He's systematically purifying the entire sacred space from all the collective impurity of the people over the last year.
Okay, so once the sanctuary is purified, the focus snaps back to that second goat, the living one, the scapegoat, who's been waiting outside this entire time.
So what exactly is this goat supposed to carry away? Not just a few cents.
not just the really bad ones, but all of them.
This is that moment of transference. The high priest lays both his hands on the head of the live goat and confesses over it all the wrongdoings, all the transgressions, all the sins of the entire nation. It's this incredibly powerful, symbolic act of just loading a year's worth of collective guilt onto this one animal.
And then the goat is sent away, not just out of the camp, but far away, deep into the wilderness, to what the text calls a land not inhabited. The person chosen for this job is simply called a fit man, someone capable of making the journey. I mean, the visual is just unforgettable. The nation's sins are literally walking away, banished to a place where they can never come back.
So, as you can imagine, this whole elaborate ritual wasn't meant to be a one-time thing. The text wraps up by establishing it as a permanent, recurring command, an essential piece of the calendar for all time.
And it wasn't just on the priest either. The entire community had to participate. On this specific day, everyone, whether they were native-born or a foreigner living among them, was commanded to afflict their souls, which is pretty much universally understood to mean fasting. And they were to do absolutely no work. The idea was for the people themselves to be in a state of humility while this great cleansing was happening for them.
It basically became a Sabbath of rest. A national day to just pause, to reflect, and to spiritually reset. It was this incredible promise that no matter what had happened over the past year, there was a way to get a clean slate, for the entire community to be made whole again.
And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. This ancient ritual gave people a powerful, visible way to deal with collective guilt by putting it on a scapegoat and sending it away forever. It really makes you wonder, in our modern world, without a ritual like this, what have we replaced it with? What or who are our modern-day scapegoats?